Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Gagandeep Kaur, Assistant Professor, Khalsa College of Education, Ranjit Avenue, Amritsar. The topic of today's module is School Supervision, its concept and theories. And the objectives of teaching this topic are to define the concept of supervision, to outline the types of supervision, to understand the scope of supervision, to define the meaning of school supervision, to understand need and purposes of school supervision, to discuss the types and scope of school supervision, to understand theories of school supervision. So first of all, as we all know, education is gaining more prominence in life than ever before. It is seen as a way of answering so many questions and solving a number of problems. More funds are being committed to education both by the governments and private enterprises. There is therefore a great demand for probity and solving some problems. The maintenance of standards and assurance of adequate measures of quality control are now the concern of all enlightened parents. The significance of school supervision has now come into the limelight. So, students, we will discuss the concept of supervision. Supervision is a way of stimulating, guiding, improving, refreshing and encouraging and overseeing certain group with the hope of seeking their cooperation in order for the supervisors to be successful in their task of supervision. Supervision is essentially the practice of monitoring the performance of school staff, noting the merits, demerits and using different techniques to remove the flaws while still improving on the merits, thereby increasing the standards of schools and achieving educational goals. The term supervision is derived from the word super video, meaning to oversee. It is an interaction between at least two persons for the improvement of an activity. It is also a combination or integration of processes, procedures and conditions that are consciously designed to advance the work effectiveness of individuals and group. Adepoju 1998 defines school supervision as a process of bringing about improvement in instruction by working with people who are working with the students. It has also been described as a process of stimulating growth and a means of helping teachers to achieve excellence in teaching. Supervision in school therefore is a vital process and a combination of activities which is concerned with the teaching and improvement of the teaching in the school framework. Supervision of any school refers to the improvement of the total teaching learning situation and the conditions that affect them. It is a socialized function designed to improve instruction by working with the people who are working in the schools. Supervision can also be defined in terms of function and purposes for which it shall be used as a skill in leadership, skills in human relation, skill in group process, skill in personal administration and skill in evaluation. However, from the meaning and definition, we can derive the features of supervision which are as follows. Supervision is a creative and dynamic expert technical service. It provides leadership with expert knowledge and superior skills. It promotes cooperative educational effort in a friendly atmosphere. It gives coordination, direction and guidance to teachers' activities. It stimulates the continuous growth of teachers and development of students. It improves instruction and the teaching learning process. It helps achievement of appropriate educational aims and objectives. It helps to decide the executional process and assess in improving instruction. It represents a portion of the whole enterprise of school management. It saves us from the victimization of soul-killing administration. So next, we will discuss about the different types of supervision. There are two types of supervision, that is autocratic and democratic. First is autocratic supervision. In this type, the authority is centralized in the key person or head who has been legally appointed to look after the organization. The policies and techniques of the school program are directed by him. Here, the authority and the power may be delegated to the supervisors who are directly responsible to the head. There is a quick communication between the authority and the supervisors so that they can be easily contacted and ordered to carry out definite directions. All suggestions and prescriptions of duties and activities come from one person and may be passed down the line. Supervisors are appointed in establishments as the inspectors. Generally, the inspectors visit individual teachers' classes, meet them individually to solve their problems. Students are also assisted individually. The authoritarian leader remains in the focus of the group's attention and he emphasizes their obedience. So, the demerits are like: in autocratic supervision, conflict, friction develops. There is a repression of individual personalities and no attempt is made to utilize the intelligence and talent of supervisors. There is great wastage of both talent and energy. The second one is democratic supervision. There is a decentralization of power in this. Every supervisor is required to contribute his best to group purposes and group welfare. The talents of all the workers are utilized fully. There is a maximum possible participation of all the workers in determining policies, procedures, and final evaluation. Each individual's personality is respected and considered of supreme value. Equality is practiced in all matters and emphasis is placed on mutual relationship and respect for one another. Next, we will discuss the scope of supervision. The scope of educational supervision extends to all the areas of educational activity with a larger purpose of improving the product of education through the upgrading of the quality of instruction and other school practices. Education is now conceived as a powerful social force for the development of personality and the values of the democratic social order. Democratic philosophy extends the scope of supervision to the ultimate goals and values of education determined democratically through the participation of all the people concerned within the educative process. Democracy requires supervision should be made more and more participatory and cooperative. In India, we believe in democratic philosophy. So, our conduct, behavior and activities should be governed by the democratic philosophy of life. This is true of education and also educational supervision. One important source of the educational supervision is therefore the democratic philosophy of life and living. Hence, supervision should be a cooperative venture in which everyone has the right to contribute. Democratic supervision provides full opportunity to discuss, free expression of views, opinions, enlists participation of all the persons, welcomes and utilizes their contribution for the improvement of the teaching, learning, situation and process. So, supervision is planned cooperatively by all the educational workers. Its programs are flexible and include analysis and improvement of the situation of the final product of education and of its own effectiveness. Supervision employs various techniques such as observation, demonstration, visits, workshops, seminars, conferences, teachers' guides, handbooks of suggestions, professional journals and in-service education. Supervision continuously makes its best effort to evaluate and improve the work environment of the pupils and teachers with the help of community assistance and cooperation. It also continually maintains an atmosphere of mutual trust, integrity, loyalty, freedom, goodwill and self-direction. The question is, what is the need for an effective school supervision? So, well students, supervision is needed in order to improve three components of the educative process, namely the learner, the teacher and the venue or the school function. This can be done by giving priority or importance to the learner as the end goal of the process which should be properly nurtured. It is the teacher and his enthusiastic package lesson that can best help in charting the destiny of the learner. These three elements are indispensable in running a school, for they are intermingled. The absence of one element, the educative process, would not be in an ideal perspective. The four main functions of supervision reveal the necessity of supervision and these are as follows. First is administrative function. The supervision provides information about policy and procedures. It provides information regarding the communication channel for vertical and lateral contexts. Second, like the educational supervision engages the worker in examination of practice, knowledge, skills, value and attitudinal issues. Through this examination of work, the worker can improve his or her ability to do the job effectively. It can act as a support. On the job, stress comes from a variety of sources like client-related, agency-related and community-related. This stress can interfere both with the learning and with the service to clients, and the supervisor can provide support to reduce the feeling of stress. It can also act as an evaluative function. The supervisor is required to establish expected performance standards and state methods that will be used to evaluate progress. The evaluation aspect of supervision can provide direction and support for ongoing development and learning. It also helps to ensure quality and accountability of services. Next, students, we will discuss the role of supervisor in supervision. So, supervision has its impact on the learner through other people and things. From the above, we can say the role of supervisor is very important. He plays an important role, like he decides the nature and content of the curriculum. He is selecting the school organizational patterns and materials that will enhance educational growth, like the improvement of teacher effectiveness, ensuring that teachers are performing their duties as scheduled, improvement of the incompetent teachers, providing a guide for staff development, determining the effectiveness of the teacher's classroom management, determining the tone of the school, determining special abilities possessed by the teacher and deciding who to be transferred, retained and promoted. So, the head teacher is usually the supervisor within the school. He or she is foremost an instructional leader. However, there are many other activities expected from him in the school. It is regrettable that many head teachers do not often see themselves in the supervisory role of promoting the quality of teaching and learning in schools. In carrying out the role of supervisor, the head teacher should be visible in all the corners of the school. Other roles are like to help both new and experienced teachers with planning their schemes of work, lessons and counsel them regularly. Have authority and use it with the teachers to set school level objectives and to determine the school's activities to achieve those objectives. That is to collect teachers' lesson plans regularly and comment on them. That is to be accessible to both teachers and students and listen to their concerns and should interact informally with them. He should trust their teachers and delegate authority to them. He should check regularly on the safety and welfare of teachers and students and take care of the problems. So, the systematic and efficient supervision is must, which will result in an effective and efficient school, which can also result in excellent achievement of pupils in examination, excellent performance in games, sports, drama, debates, music, festival, etc. It can develop the well-behaved pupils and students. Next, we will discuss about different types of school supervision. The different types of school supervision are like laissez-faire type. This type of supervision utilizes inspectorial supervisory methods unaided by any objective control. In other words, the teachers are left free. They are not to be imposed upon or directed. Second is coercive type. This type of supervision is the opposite of the first. The supervisor visits the teachers in order to observe them. The teachers acquired ready-made procedure or standards prescribed by the supervisors. The training and guidance type. This type of supervision emphasizes the improvements of teacher as well as techniques through direction, training and guidance. So students, next we will discuss about the scope of school supervision. The major functions logically under school supervision are like inspection. This is actually a study of school conditions to discover problems or defects of the students, teachers and school curriculum, objectives and methods. This could be done via actual observation, educational tests, conferences, questionnaires and checklists. Second is like research. This has something to do to remove the weaknesses of the problems discovered. The supervisor should conduct research to discover means methods and procedure fundamental to the success of supervision. The solution discovered are then passed on the teachers. Third is like training. This is acquainting teachers with solutions discovered in research through training. Training may take the form of demonstration teaching, workshops, seminars, classroom observations, individual or group conferences, professional classes or the use of bulletin boards and circulars. Next is guidance. Guidance involved personal help given by someone. It is a function of supervision to stimulate, direct, guide and encourage the teachers to apply instructional procedures, techniques, principles and devices. Next is evaluation. As an ultimate function of supervision, evaluation appraises the outcomes and the factors conditioning the outcomes of instruction. It improves the products and processes of instructional process. Next is activities involved in supervision. The activities that are falling under supervision can be like survey of the school system, improvement of classroom teaching, in-service education of teachers, selecting and organizing material for instructions, researching the problems of teaching, determining the desirable physical condition of teaching and performing semi-administrative duties. Next students, we will discuss the supervision theories. Kurt Lewin said that there is nothing so practical as a good theory. Theories allow us to make vast and complicated amounts of information into understandable, concise pieces and to highlight the main issues or focal points of that vast amount of information. All mental health practitioners and their supervisors function according to at least one theory. The supervisor's challenge is to extend their appreciation of those theories to guide their supervisory work with practitioners. Supervision is an evaluative process. The theories by which the supervisor chooses to use as a guide need credible and recognizable criteria. Peterson in 1986 proposed what he considered to be the 6 most vital proponents of a theory. First is preciseness and clarity, containing clear, consistent wording. Second is simplicity, containing the minimum of assumptions necessary to explain the focus of the point. Third is comprehensiveness, regarding the use of the known data in that particular area of interest. Next is operationality, in that the hypotheses and concepts are expressed in clear evaluative terms. Practicality, are useful to practicing people. Falsifiability, it is important that the theory can be disproved. Next is psychoanalytic supervision. Psychoanalytic supervision is by far the oldest, mainly because from its inception, psychoanalysis has addressed the concept of supervision. The supervisor assists the counselor to be open to the experience that can be considered to mirror therapy, whereby the counselor learns the analytic attitude that includes such attributes as patience, trust in the process, interest in the client and respect for the power. An assumption of the psychoanalytic supervision model is that the most effective way a counselor can learn these qualities in the supervisory climate is for them to experience these qualities from their supervisor in the supervisory relationship. Client-centered supervision. Carl Rogers was concerned with the concept of supervision for trainee counselors as he observed from early recordings of therapy sessions that the usual forms of learning were not effective in the teaching. Roger, in his client-centered therapy, introduced us to the concepts of listening and communicating our understanding of the experience with the client in a unique way. However, client-centered skills are more than listening and responding appropriately. They consist of the fundamental belief in the phenomenological process that the issue of giving advice or instruction becomes vague. Therefore, client-centered therapy and supervision is about stepping into the experience of an individual who chooses to be influenced. Hence, it becomes both a mirror and a paradox. The successful client must therefore have a profound trust in the counselor, believing the supervisor to have both the ability and motivation to grow and to explore both the therapy and the self. This must therefore mirror the trust that the counselor has in their clients to do likewise. The challenge with client-centered supervision occurs when the processes experienced in the supervisory context and evidence or behavior by the supervisor suggests that the supervisors actually has an inability to genuinely believe that their client has the ability to differentiate and move towards self-actualization. Next is cognitive behavioral supervision. It proceeds on the assumption that both adaptive and maladaptive behaviors are learned and maintained through their consequences. As a result, these supervisors are more specific and systematic in their approach to supervision, goals and processes than some of the other supervisory perspectives. The supervisory model of the cognitive behavioral therapist consists of building rapport, skill analysis and assessment, setting goals, implementation of strategies, follow-up and evaluation. This CBT supervisors accept part of the responsibility for supervisory learning but define the potential of the counselor as a potential to learn, and therefore supervision is concerned with the extent to which the supervisee is able to demonstrate technical competency. Developmental approaches to supervision. Developmental approaches fundamentally focus on how the counselor will change as they gain further training and supervised experience. Developmental supervision is based on two assumptions. In the process of becoming competent, the counselor will progress through a number of stages that are qualitatively different from each other. Each stage requires a qualitatively different environment for optimum growth to occur. Over the years, literally dozens of supervisory theories have been put forth by numerous developmental psychologists attempting to improve on previous theories. The Stoltenberg model identified 4 stages or levels. During the first level, the counselor is dependent on the supervisor by the lack in self-confidence while imitating and endorsing categorical thinking with the little real experience. Level 2 is indicated by an increased awareness in the counselor and a striving for independence, becoming more assertive with less imitation but with the fluctuating motivation. Level 3 is indicative of the counselor supervises autonomy, becoming more insightful and motivated as a supervisor's role now changes to being that of colleague. The fourth and the final stage finds the supervisee confident with their interpersonal and cognitive skills culminating in a confident professional and is now on equal terms with their supervisor. Well students, to summarize, we have to check, does fear or trust dominate relationships in your school's classrooms? How well do supervisors listen to and respond to teachers? How well do teachers listen to and respond to students? How are problems identified and solved? Supportive supervision in schools is a guide for teachers and administrators who want to create good school climate and a school culture that encourages professional growth and development among staff members. It uses a conferencing method to allow teachers, administrators and students to discuss and reflect upon what they are doing inside the school building. We can say that supervision is very important to improve the whole educational process. I hope now the topic is clear to you. Thank you so much for watching.